All right, I'm back. Does anyone know how to keep the phone from interrupting the live stream? Because I get a call and it just bumps it. That's really, really annoying, and I don't know how to stop that setting on an iPhone. I have an iPhone 6, so S. So if anyone knows how to stop that setting, please let me know. So I'm just going to sum up quickly, in case I get cut off again, so I have the basics out. I'm trying to produce art books, things of top quality. And I don't mean the physical production, that's part of it. But I'm talking the actual, poetry and prose being published. And, that's how you do that is at odds with how you sell books at Amazon. The low margin business of Amazon does not work well with art. If you need to mass produce books because of the amount or how little you're getting per unit, that doesn't bode well to producing Kafka. It's not going to work with Sylvia Plath. It's, you need those authors that put out piles of work. And I do know some authors that have been wildly successful in the Amazon era. But those authors are pumping out work. And the thought about creating Moran Press was, where do the other artists go? Where the other writers go? How does a writer that is seeking to craft a masterpiece to the best of their talents, where do they go? Do they do it alone? Because largely literary work is just kind of ignored. And if you go it alone, how can you make any headway? Publishing one book every 2-3 years, you're just not going to. And so my thought was to gather a bunch of those type artists under one roof to try to amplify all our voices. That's the thought. And to some extent it works a little bit, but there's still not enough titles. 8 to 10 a year isn't enough to reach critical mass to break through the Amazonification of the margin problem. How many units would you need to sell at 8 to 10 titles to make any headway? That's the crux of the problem. And so I really identified the thing at Moran Press, and I need more products to sell. But if I'm going to shape this list as my must-reads in literature, I can't produce much more than 8 to 10 books. Maybe with a little streamlining of the process, I could get to maybe 15 titles. But again, what's that? That's not going to be enough titles to sell the units that I need to sell to succeed in the Amazon world. And, what I'm getting back for critical feedback is really good on some cases. And I think some people see. I want to gather a group of people that are trying to create their best art. And that the fundamental goal isn't to hit the Amazon charts. That the people who obsess over descriptions and book covers and all those type of things, that's like another group of people, and I wish them all the best. I've read many of their books. It's no way a criticism. You have to understand this is just a different way of producing books and a different method and a different goal. My goal is to produce something that stands in the conversation of literature that has gone on for hundreds of years. I wish my books to take a small little moment in that conversation with Kafka and Fitzgerald and Austen and Sylvia Plath and join that fabric, that history. I'm not just looking to create something that mass-produced sells at Amazon. And, what you really are doing is making a factory. And I know some of those writers, and they're doing really, really well. One author, the one I know, and I'm not going to name him because I'm just talking about theory here. This man in 6 years has written about 70 books. 70 books. And he is selling them like hotcakes. Because he just has a release, it seems like every other month. And It's really impressive. But you can't tell me that that's art. You can't tell me that those words are really worked over. They've got to go. You know, it's like, it's on a timeline, it's on a job, it's an assembly line, and awesome. That's great. And so a lot of people, when they critique my business model, they critique it from that point of view. Oh, you're not doing this and this and this. It's like, I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to make Kafka. I'm trying to make the Metamorphosis. I'm trying to make the Great Gatsby. I have no interest in being 50 Shades of Grey. And then when I see out of a lot of indie authors, I can't tell you how many copycat 50 Shades of Grey knockoff books I see on my timeline. And I'm not criticizing that. Go for that. If that's what you want to do, cool. But when you're offering critique of my business plan, don't say because I'm not doing it like that, I'm failing. Now, obviously, things aren't going well. But the selling of art is a really difficult concept in America. It's never been easy. I'm not saying 2018 America is somehow, oh my God, art is falling off the map. There was never a time Kafka succeeded. You know, Kafka is a, you know, kind of a example for literary art. He starved. You know, Fitzgerald died broke. You know, he had trouble selling his stories. You know, sometimes he sold them, but his novels he slaved over. He could barely make any money off of. And some of the dime novels of the day outsold Great Gatsby in dramatic fashion. And so it's never been a case where literary authors made bank. No, I'm trying to develop a business model that minimizes the already disadvantaged position literary authors are in by grouping us together to try to lift all our boats. You know, if I'm only putting out one, basically I put out one novel and one book of short stories in 4 years. Now, if I put a book out every 2 years, I'm never going to sell a lot of copies on Amazon. But I slaved over those books. I really put my blood into those books in a way that some of these mass-produced copies, they're not even dreaming of. You know, I did more revisions on my book than some of them did in 10. I mean, Ella went through 30 revisions. I'm not even kidding. So we're talking about a different type of product. And, you know, so what I need for the feedback is the people that are trying to make art. And I'm trying to group artists together so we can minimize our natural disadvantage of not putting out enough products to survive in terms of just making enough to continue this art thing on the side. You know, I have a family to feed. They need formula. The babies need diapers. Those things cost money. And if I'm not putting out enough product, then I simply have to come up with another business model to do this. And I know there are a lot of other artists out there that are in my position. You've really worked on your novel or 2 or 3, and you sculpted and shaped and put everything into that. But then it comes time to sell it, and it's like, how do you sell one book, one literary book? If I just handed you the Metamorphosis, could you sell the Metamorphosis as a brand new book right today? Of course you couldn't. I'm telling you right now, you couldn't. You just couldn't. Just that one book, not 40 books along the same line. Metamorphosis, just one book. No, you couldn't sell it. He couldn't sell it. Guy died penniless in an asylum, basically. I mean, you know, it's... So I'm looking to group myself with others. You know, I've made contact with several, and I know our books have done better in a small group than they would have done alone. But I need a bigger group of artists and not just writers. There's got to be people that are crafting these books that could join, that, you know, you're kind of struggling alone, and if you were in this group, you might do better. And I'm talking about the people that craft is more important than the sales. The craft is first. That you're not going to cut corners to sell more product because you need to get it out in a better timeline, in a faster timeline. There's that the quality is the number one goal. That you're seeking to make beautiful products of uncompromised quality. That's where Moran Press starts. And because of that uncompromising quality, we get hurt on the margin realities of today. You know, Amazon has got it down to $1 a book, you know, for an indie, basically. And How many units? Come on, just for that to make a difference. So, you know, my call is to the artists out there to think along those lines. And that I have people come to me and basically say in some fashion, can you market my books? And it's never been about marketing. You can't market one book at a time. You just cannot. Yes, you market one book at a time, but if you don't have a bunch of books as an author, you're going nowhere. You're just going nowhere. It's just a waste of time. A lot of the things you need to do to market one book, you need other books to do that. Giveaways, 2-for-1s, lead books, giving samples out. It's just, if you only have a couple of books, it's just not going to work. And so if you ask me if I can market your literary book, I can't even market mine. And, you know, maybe if we get a catalog of literary books, you know, the fans that I have made, and the fans of you have made, and the fans of author C, and the fans of author D, and the fans of author E, all coming together into one circle, some of those literary fans are going to match up and buy other books. You know, because if you tell me your influences and you name a great author, and I'm trying to make stuff like Kafka and Fitzgerald, and you say, oh wow, you know, I'm really working on books, and look at me, I'm making books like Bukowski, and I'm making books like this, and I don't mean copying, I'm talking influence, then some of the people are going to be, oh wow, that's amazing, I'm glad I was contacted by that, you know, I got to be in contact with that. And I've seen some of that at Moran Press. You know, I bring a poet in and his natural fans come in and they start buying some of the other books. Oh wow, I'm so glad I got to see Book of Birds. This is a beautiful book. This is literature. This is beautiful. This reminds me of To Kill a Mockingbird. Now that came from a fan that came into that circle because they followed the poet in. This was a fan of a poet. And they came in, they got to be exposed to a book they wouldn't have been exposed to before. And I'm talking art. They, you know, that was their response back when they read Book of Birds by Alan Brisky, is that they were like, this is amazing. This is something special. This isn't some, you know, this isn't a McDonald's experience of books. I'm going to savor this book. I'm going to read this book multiple times. These are the reactions I get back. And that was the whole goal. You know, I didn't publish Book of Birds because, you know, I'm trying to sell 1 million copies. I would love it to sell 1 million copies. I believe you should read that book. But I publish it first and foremost because I believe it's art. I believe that, you know, that book has something that is special, truly special. That's, I hope I'm conveying what I mean to convey here. And, you know, if a group of the artists that I'm talking about get together and we can discuss how to market based on those realities, cool, I want to have that discussion. But, you know, so many authors, they basically go at it this way. They break it down this way. Publishing is for marketing. Self-publishing is, you know, if I'm going to do it on my own. And there's a lot in the middle there on hybrid publishing, small presses, micro presses. And I just want to break that myth. It isn't self-published or the publisher does it all. So many self-published authors are missing a fundamental part of the book business. And I know they think they see it all, but they are missing the most important part of it. Now, they work on their covers, they work on their their descriptions, they work on their blurbs, they work on their selling techniques. The biggest thing that they miss is the book in the middle. They produce stuff and they put stuff on Amazon that shouldn't be published by them. They think they're their own editor. You're not. You cannot say when this book is ready. A lot of you cannot. You think you can. You can't. I read so many of these indie books and they're incomplete, poorly edited, and not realized to their potential because the person on the cover was the general manager of saying when this book was done. And you fail at that. I'm talking the majority of indie books I read. If only you could have had someone making the decisions on editing other than you, you would have had a fantastic book. You made a great product. You worked with experts on your cover and you worked with experts on your blurb and your description. Home run. I'm absolutely applauding your efforts. I think some of you are making fantastic products, except for the actual fiction in the middle. You do need a publisher, some of you. Now, are some of you doing a great job? I want to call out Justin Bogg. He's doing an amazing job. He has that balance of beautiful product and a complete focus and knowing how to lean on editors to make that product in the middle of the book, the fiction. But a lot of writers don't have that gift. They don't have the gift of being able to self-manage their own project. And the book in the middle feels incomplete. The actual fiction feels incomplete. You didn't edit it enough. You didn't really revise the book enough. You had too many writers as beta readers, and you didn't make a great book. And the biggest thing that is missing is someone else to tell you something. That's the biggest issue with a lot of self-publishers. And so at Moran Press, I function as that voice of telling you when the book is done. I act as the general manager to put together your project. And I can promise you that the books put together, forgetting sales, are of better quality than the average indie book. And that's the biggest reason for that, is because you're not in charge of saying when your manuscript is publishable and ready and done. That's the biggest failing of indie books. Can you make a cover? Can you make descriptions? Can you make blurbs? Absolutely. Can you be your own editor? No, you cannot. I'm sorry. No, you can't. And, so starting from that central premise is where I'm at with Moran Press. It's like we want to make the best possible literature for the authors, the team, and for the people that are seeking to join or seeking to take part in this. And I'm really looking to have artists and bookmakers kind of mix into this so we can cut costs for everybody if there's multiple people in the group. And it's almost like works like a mall. They all pay rent around central things so they can, work off each other's traffic. That's kind of the premise. Now, obviously, malls are struggling in America because they're getting destroyed by online. That's why I want to do this online. I'm not looking to buy a mall and put a bookmaking business and a craft business and a publisher. I'm not looking to do that. I'm looking to do it online. But under the online building, I want to have publishers. I want to have authors. I want to have artists. I want to have musicians. I want to have people that see the indie art concept. And that people that are looking to make their best art possible, not their entire focus is how to sell books at Amazon. Because if your only focus is to sell books at Amazon, the biggest thing that suffers is the book. That's what I've seen over and over and over again. And when I give someone my book, my real thought is what they think of the fiction. And I want them to, and then what, fill in the blank. Every author has different goals on that. But I hope that the artists that I'm trying to communicate with see what I'm going for now. That I want some type of, I used to call it the collective or art commune, a place where we can all bring each other's traffic and get more sales out of that because you're bringing your like-minded buyers. There's not enough niche buyers that each individual person trying to fish them out of the pond is going to succeed. But if this artist and this musician and this writer and this publishing group are under one tent, we may be able to lift all the boats. That was the theory behind Moran Press, and that's what I'm still going for. But I can't do it alone. I've experienced these problems with the fact that clearly I've outlined I don't put out enough titles. 8 to 10 a year isn't enough. But the quality I'm trying to reach, I can't produce many more than that. So I've reached a crossroads of the business has to grow, but it has to add pieces. That tent has to widen out. There has to be other artists in there. There have to be musicians in there, painters, the ones that make the covers. And it's not just about me contracting to you to make a painting. Be in there interacting and sell some of your own paintings. I'm not going to take a piece of that, but the fact that you're bringing some artist fans in there, some of those people are going to buy books. Some of those people are going to buy MP3s from that band that is there to entertain us. That's almost like a variety show. And each individual thread has their fans. Some of those fans also buy books, buy music, buy paintings. So all the artists can rise. And if you're someone out there that's putting out 6 to 8 books a year, this isn't for you. This isn't what you need to be doing. If you can put out 6 to 8 books a year, you can go for Amazon. You can sell the units you need to do that. But if you're putting out 1 book every 2 years, like I am, that's never going to work. It's just not, unless you get struck by viral lightning, and nobody can bottle that. Nobody can ever really tell you why 50 Shades of Grey did what it did. Because there's 1,000 knockoffs of it that didn't do that. So they wrote the exact same plot. Some of them stole it to the paragraph. I mean, she stole it, but that's incidental. Nobody could tell you why something goes viral. If they could do that, they'd be millionaires themselves. But to sum up, I'm looking for people that are making art. Obviously, you're struggling in sales if you're putting out 1 book or 1 record or 1 painting. And so I'm looking to house them under 1 roof to maximize each individual artist's fan base. I had a good amount of traffic onto StephenJohnMoran.com, and that kind of went by the wayside when I did Moran Press, and I've kind of hurt my own production by doing this, and I need to lead with my own content. Content marketing is the only way this will work, because I can't do the regular marketing. It just doesn't work on 1 book every 2 years. I have Ella and I have Server. It's just not going to work. I can't market those books in the Amazon way with only 1 book every 2 years. It's just not going to work. You need new, and you need just over and over and over releases. So to make up for that, I need to group with other artists and writers like myself. If you're a band and you guys were in the studio for 6-9 months and you perfected this album, it's going to be hard to make a following. That could be a band that needs to be up on MoranPress.com, or some fashion of what we can all put our heads together to create. We don't have to call it MoranPress.com. We can put our heads together and form something different, if need be. What I'm saying is that I need to, I'm looking to put together this group of like-mindeds. And I know so many that are individually going at it, trying to get it at Amazon. You're never going to get there. It's just not going to happen. I'm not saying I'm going to get it either. I know I won't putting out 1 book every 2 years. It just will not happen. And so if you're in that boat, come at it. Let's come at it from that discussion. Don't try to say, "Oh, can you market my book?" I cannot. I cannot market your Kafka book any more than I can market mine. So if your book is intended to be that literature, if your book is intended to, if the whole focus of your book is making the absolute best literature you can personally write, then you're in my boat, and we need to, let's come to, to something. And so email me at moranpressgroup.com, gmail.com, or you can respond to this on Twitter or Facebook. You can private message me. What ideas do you have? What would this group, how would the group best make money for each? And I'm not talking from me individual. I'm talking, how would we best harness the traffic? What I mean is to get a lot of traffic and have products from each person, artist, group to sell. And each person's fan base is going to lift the boat. And those are the ideas I'm looking for. How can we best do that? What does it look like? What ideas do you have on what the process will be? How do we make the books and streamline the process from multiple arts to help bring costs down, to get more products out into the marketplace? And because one of the problems about why I'm making one book every 2 years is the process is a little slow, because I'm trying to make a certain level of art. And if I get a few more people that are looking to make that, we'll be able to bring the cost down, because we'll have more in the pipeline. So that will help. So, thank you for listening. I'm looking forward to your feedback. The post is up on moranpress.com. It's the lead post right now, the future of Moran Press. My idea is to produce some literary collectibles and one-of-a-kind keepsakes that to really give the readers a unique experience. So thanks again for watching. I'm definitely looking forward to hearing from you. Thanks a lot.